Good morning. My name is Gabe. I spent years in the trades, and now I track industry changes that actually matter to your home service business. So this is called the Trades Brief, where there's no bullshit, no fluff, no opinions, just what changed in the industries and why you should care and how it affects your business. 10 minutes or less is my guarantee. Today is 13 January, and here's the update. Bottom line up front, or a BLUF, is what we called it in the military. Housing is no longer just a real estate story. It's very quickly becoming a policy story, a corporate finance story, and a downstream demand story for your trades business. So today we're diving a little bit deeper into why the large investment firms have been buying single-family homes, why politicians on both sides of the aisle are suddenly trying to stop it, and what that actually means for contractors and service businesses on the ground. So here's what changed. Over the last several years, large institutional investors, basically since the COVID timeframe, have dramatically increased their exposure to single-family housing. So they're not buying condos, they're not buying apartments, they're buying single-family homes. Before we go any further into that, it's important to understand how different buyers actually buy homes, because this is where the gap really starts and how it affects your business. The simplest way to think about it is this. A normal family buying a home usually starts with a budget, what they can afford based off of their income and their credit score and all that stuff. They talk to a lender, they get pre-approved for a certain amount. They worry about interest rates because that affects their monthly payments. They didn't worry about the amount of the monthly payment, school districts, neighborhoods, commute times for the parents' work, etc. They tour houses on nights and weekends. They submit an offer for finally the one that they like. They negotiate back and forth. They ask for inspections and contingency. They worry about the repairs, the stress about timing, all of this. And this process takes months. And sometimes it falls apart right at the end. And then no one wins. And then the seller has to go find another buyer and so on and so forth. Now, compare that to how an institution like BlackRock buys homes. Institutional buyers don't need a mortgage approval for each house because they already have capital in the form of cash set aside. They often buy through an LLC or one of their operating companies. They can then waive all the inspections. They don't care. There's no contingencies. They can close in days instead of weeks, and they can buy multiple properties at once. So they don't care about school districts or commute times or any of the other things that you and I as homeowners care about. They care about yield, rent potential, and portfolio math, which I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm saying it becomes very, very, very hard to compete with them if you're just an average American family trying to buy a home. So for them, speed and certainty are the advantage. And that's why sellers often choose them even if the offer price is similar. So if I'm a homeowner or a home buyer and I'm buying a home and I'm competing with an institution, it's very unlikely that I'm going to win because of those things we just talked about. And this difference matters because it changes who wins houses in competitive markets and who loses. So let's talk about what happens after the purchase now that we know the difference between purchasing both an institutional and the regular American family, because this is where the trades start to feel it. A homeowner who plans to live in a house for 10 or 20 or 30 years behaves very differently than an institutional owner. Homeowners invest emotionally. It's their home. It's where they're going to raise their kids. They replace systems early. They remodel kitchens. They upgrade HVAC for comfort, not just compliance. They care about efficiency, noise, reliability, and longevity. So they want someone that they can hire and trust. They don't just want the cheapest fix. They want the right fix at the right time with the person who's going to do it the best. Now, institutional owners have the opposite approach. They optimize for cost control first and foremost. They delay replacements as long as possible. They standardize materials no matter where you're at in the country it is or what the home's value is. They approve repairs, not improvements. They rotate vendors. They negotiate aggressively. They track cost per unit down to the penny. The goal isn't long-term care for them. It's all margins, and it's a business, right? So the difference directly affects how you and your service business interact with that customer. Owner-occupied homes generate more maintenance, more upgrades, more long-term relationships, and more predictable work over time, which for you can change your business. That's repeat, recurring customers. Institutional-owned homes generate more price pressure, more transactional jobs, and much tighter margins. Now, here's where policy starts to enter the picture. So President Trump just announced plans to ban large institutional investors from purchasing those single-family homes. California is also proposing the same state-level action against corporate landlords. So both sides of the aisle are making this a bigger issue now. So whether or not these proposals become law, the signal is what matters. Housing affordability, ownership concentration, and corporate influence have crossed a political threshold. This isn't about one company. It's about market structure. So you layer in what builders are doing on top of all this. Builders are cutting prices and offering incentives in parts of the market. So that tells you demand for the housing market is cooling on the new construction side. And now when people stop moving, they start fixing. They stay longer in their homes. They invest differently. They repair instead of relocate to another home. That's usually great for good service businesses, but only for the ones positioned for long-term relationships. So not volume at any cost, but investing in those long-term relationships with their customers. And here's the part most headlines miss. This environment rewards structure. Higher labor costs, more informed customers, tighter budgets, and longer ownership cycles means homeowners shop more and ask more questions. If you can't explain pricing clearly, if you rely on outdated assumptions, or if your margins depend on speed instead of value, this will get painful for you and your business fast. The trades aren't being pushed out. They're being professionalized, and the best companies are seeing that right now, and it's working. That's the signal you need to see. Housing policy pressure, institutional behavior, and construction pullback all point towards a market that rewards disciplined operators, and it punishes chaos. And that's not political at all. That's structural. That's the update for today. If something changes, I'll always cover it here. I hope this is helpful. This is the Trades Brief.